Hello, heroes and villains. Welcome to Multiverse. So when I made my video about the DC Universe Online being playable on the PS5, there's one thing that people noticed: offline single player. I did not mention it in my PS5 video because, to tell the truth, I have no idea what this really means. Your guess at this point is as good as mine. I know that some of you guys seems to think that I get some support from the devs or I get some insider information from the devs or something like that. None of that is true. I don't know. I don't have any more connections with the devs than any of you guys out there. It's sad, but that's how it is. So I'm as much in the dark as you are about that point. But there is one thing that I can do. I can speculate about it. I did not speculate in my previous video because I didn't want to distract from the fact that we have an official announcement that the DC Universe Online will be playable on the PS5. But in this video here, we are going to speculate. So again, take everything that's going to be said in this video with a huge grain of salt. This is pretty much nothing more than speculation. So let's get started. So you can see basically the offline single player was part of the, I guess, features for DC Universe Online. Like you can see, they also mentioned the DualShock 4 vibration function, that it can be played on the PS Vita and from the console, away from the console, that it can be controlled via PS Vita, and that online play is required. And also the usual warning, online features required in the account and are subjective to term of service and all that good stuff. So uh, it's there's not much to say really about the offline single player at this point, other than to speculate about it. What could this mean for this Universe Online on the PS5? Could this mean that we will have the option to be able to play this Universe Online as a single player game? Technically, we can sort of do that. Like from level 1 to level 30, DC Universe Online is pretty much a single player game. But even beyond that, pretty much every DLC has at least some form of single player content. And even some of the multiplayer content can actually be played as single player. Sometimes maybe not at level, but once your character gets to higher levels, you can go back and play some of the group missions single player if you want to. Although sadly, a lot of missions, pretty much any missions from the on duty menu that requires two players or more, sadly you don't have access to those missions. And obviously, the whole PvP component of the game, there's no way you can do that from a single player point of view. But at this point, the PvP part of the game is a small fraction of the game. And there's also the Legends PvE that I guess could be challenging to be able to play as a single player. I guess they would have to give some sort of buff to the Legend characters so that they would be able to solo those missions. But then again, even to access those missions, you need 4 players. That is something that people have been asking for quite some time. Sadly, in this Universe Online, some of the older missions are, let's say, challenging to be able to find a group for. So what people have been requesting is that, like, once your character reaches, let's say, combat rating 300, why is it that we cannot go back to, let's say, tier 1, tier 2, tier 5, 4, 5, 8 player missions and play those missions solo? And so in the case of some missions, we can actually do it. There's quite a few missions like on Striker Island, like the Striker Island 4-player mission. There is a portal that gives us access to that mission, so we can go back and play that mission. Obviously, the open world bounties, we have access to all of those, even if we're solo. There's some 8-player missions like the Fortress of Solitude missions. We can play those solo as well. Even the Fortress of Solitude 2, I know that there's a place where the group has to separate and each part of the group has to do a separate part of the mission. I should probably make a video about that, how to play Fortress of Solitude solo. So there are missions that we can go back and play solo. Sadly, there's only a small amount of those missions because most of the missions that where we need a group, we have to have access to those missions using the on-duty menu. And a lot of players have been asking for the option to be able to go into those missions, to be able to cure for those missions, even if we don't have a full group, or even to add some portals. At some point, they were adding portals to certain missions, but they stopped around tier 5. I think it's with Paradox Wave. I think with Paradox Waves, there was some issues with the portal, so at some point, they stopped adding portals to missions. Although again, there are a few exceptions to that. Trigon's Prison, we have access to Trigon's Prison through a portal. So, but apparently there was some sort of issues with the portals, so they stopped adding those to 8-player missions and 4-player missions. There's probably an exception or two that I fail to recall, but usually for 4-player missions and 8-player missions, you have to use the on-duty menu, and you have to have either a full group or you have to queue until the matchmaking forms a full group, and then you can have access to that mission. So people have been asking for quite some time to be able to gain access to those missions solo, or at least without a full group, which would pretty much be the same thing. So I wonder if we're able to manage to do that somehow on PlayStation 5. Will we be able to have access to all the content on PlayStation 5 solo? And does that mean does that give them the option to offer a offline single player option? Because also another problem with massive multiplayer games, I'm sure a lot of you guys that are actually watching these videos, I know that some of you guys sometimes will tell me that you would like to play this universe online, but somehow you cannot do so, either because you don't have, let's say, a PS4, or even worse yet, you don't have an internet connection. Uh, it seems people seems to think that the internet is all around the world, and technically it's kind of true. But there's a lot of places, there's a lot of regions either that don't have internet just yet, or that have very not very good internet. So even though they do have internet access, if your internet is not good enough to be able to play the game, it makes the game pretty much unplayable. So you need a somewhat stable and somewhat fast internet connections to be able to play DCUO properly, or without getting any major lag or major issues. And sadly, a lot of people either don't have access to such internet because it doesn't exist in their region, or they just can't afford it. And I assume with PS5 you'll need an even better internet connection, or at least a very fast internet connection. And it's something that I realized when I switched from PS3 to PS4. I saw a huge difference. I had to upgrade my internet a bit. I had to upgrade my internet for two reasons. The first reason, in terms of speed, even though the speed of my internet was fine to play DCU on PS3, when I started playing DCU on PS4, I could tell that it just wasn't fast enough anymore. So I had to upgrade my internet a bit. And the other thing is that there's a lot of places also where you don't have unlimited internets. And even places where you do have it, you have to pay extra. Like at the time when I had my PS3, I had I think it was 300 gigs of download, 300 or 350 gigs of download that I had in my account. And usually it was more than enough. Once in a while, I would come close to going over the limit, and there's maybe twice that I actually did go over the limit and had to either pay some extra or purchase an extra package. But when I got my PS4, forget it. I would 300 gig, that wasn't enough. I quickly realized that the games on PS4 were huge, like games like Arkham Asylum, or what are Arkham Knights at the time? The games like Arkham Knights or Destiny, or these were huge games, like 60 gigs or more. So you download 2, 3, 4 of those games, and holy crap, you're very, and in addition to everything else you download throughout the month, and forget it, I would go over the limit every time. And even worse, also those games have updates. Those updates often are pretty substantial. So once I got my PS4, obviously having 300 gigs, that was nowhere near enough. So I had to upgrade to unlimited internets. So that's another thing also. A lot of places either do not offer unlimited internets, or again they offer crappy internets. So I could see the value of having an offline single player mode for people who don't have access to proper internet. So having the option to be able to play this universe online, offline, could be an asset. If your internet is down, you could still play DCUO. Obviously, it would mean that you wouldn't be able to play the broker. The broker is one of those components that you need to be logged in. You need to be online in order to be able to trade and sell items with players throughout the broker. And obviously, any multiplayer missions, unless they make some sort of changes to this universe online, allowing you to have access to those missions as solo, obviously you would not have access to all of those missions. And obviously, the whole PvP option of the game, that would be off the table as well. But again, there's a substantial amount of the game that you could still play offline if you wanted to. So I could see that having some sort of value for DC Universe Online on PS5. But again, the truth is we don't really know what that means. So unless the devs actually come out with an official announcement soon, we're going to have to wait for such an announcement to be able to know for sure what this means or if it actually means anything. Here in the Great White North, the PS5 will launch November 12th. So that's less than a month until we actually get the PS5. Obviously, the PS5 is sold out everywhere, so some of us may have to wait until maybe Christmas before we can actually purchase it. Maybe even after Christmas, we'll see if the supply can actually meet the demand. But basically, November 12th at the latest, we should have some sort of announcement. They will have to make some sort of announcement before then, because for November 12th, people will have to know how it's going to work to be able to play on PS5 with DC Universe Online. So by then we should have a clear picture of what this actually means, of what this offline single player option actually means, if it does mean anything. For all we know, this offline single player option could simply include a character creation and a Brainiac mission, and after that you have to log in, you have to go online to be able to play the rest of the content. Again, at this point, we don't really have any information about that. But I would say any day now, at the latest, when the PS4 was about to launch, I think DCUO waited made their official announcement about a week before PS4 came out. So even with PS4, we didn't get the information way ahead of time. It took a while before we actually got all the information. So I assume at the very least, a week before November 12th, we should get some sort of official announcement. Hopefully, they'll make an official announcement before then. I guess we're going to have to wait and see for that. So if you have any comments, suggestions, questions, feel free to do so in the comment section down below. I try to answer as many comments as I can. Obviously, there's starting to be a lot of you guys right now, and so it's getting more and more challenging for me to be able to answer all of your questions. But I do what I can to try to answer as many of you as I can. And maybe some of you guys have some idea of what this offline single player mode could mean. Again, let us know in the comment section down below. So that's going to be pretty much it for now, guys. So as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.